And I think one of our roles and our jobs is to give man the ability to embrace that identity and to unleash that warrior within. And I think if we look to Christ in that model, everything will fall into place.
Yeah. Yeah, so I see that a lot, and I, with my own sons, I have 4 sons, and I see them. You take a small boy, you give him a stick, it becomes a sword or a gun. There's something, and even if they've never watched it on TV before, all of a sudden, they're swinging it around.
True.
But it is something that's in us. There is something in us that is a fighter, that fighting spirit. And you say that in the spiritual realm, or in the church life, guys will look at certain spiritual things. I know, Damon, you were talking about this earlier, as being a little, girly or a little weak or a little lame or whatever term you want to use. Men don't want to step up oftentimes to leading the family in prayer or saying, okay, hey, it's time to go to confession. We're going to go together. I'm going to be right there in line with you. But they don't do this because they see this as not being such a strong fighting type of thing. I mean, how do you answer that?
Right, and we need to reverse that trend now. Because I think what is happening is a lot of times the spiritual things have fallen upon women. And so when men only see that from women in their lives, they're going to quickly associate it with a feminine thing. So we as men today, we as Catholic Christian men today, need to be the leaders in the family. We need to take the initiative to lead the family in prayer, to say, hey, let's get to Mass. It's shown time and time again that the children go by the way of the Father. To the extent to which the Father, is taking them to Mass, praying with the family. When they grow up and become adults themselves, they will stay true to the faith. When not, by and large, they fall away.
Right.
So we have tremendous power, we as men, to lead in this capacity, and we can't take that lightly. And we need to challenge every single man out there that is among us Christian men to do that for their families.
Because I mean, this is not just for a few men, just the men that kind of feel good about it. Hey, I like this religious idea. Okay, I think that's for me. It's for all men. I mean, across the board. I mean, Father, you see this in the priesthood, I'm sure, with regards to the need for good, strong priests to preach. And what would you say to the men out there?
Well, I would say exactly what they are talking about. You referenced even the sacrament of confession. So often you run into mothers can tell their kids over and over and over, we're going to confession. And like my oldest brother, his quick response to my mother was, you're supposed to take the plank out of your own eye before you worry about the speck in mine.
So he knows some scripture.
He did. And my dad, it just took my father to say, get yourself ready, we're going to confession. It was quiet, everybody went. Yeah. But I think even with priests, too, that people follow, whether a priest is kind and gentle by nature, or rather crusty or whatever, if they just tell people what the truth is, they have the same effect that a father does in the home. People, the faithful, will respond to that. They say, I know I'm hearing the truth, and I know Father's telling me, maybe I don't like to hear it right now, but I know that's the right thing.
And just to add to that, our mission, the Kingsmen, and our work is the fruit of a priest summoning us into battle. Father Philip Chavez, over 2.5 years ago, told us what we needed to do as men. We needed to lead. We needed to protect. We needed to provide. That's the first time we had heard that in our life. He has a tremendous men's ministry, the Amateur Institute, and the Kingsmen, and we're working closely with him. So that exact thing happened to us. A father figure, the priest, he is a father, summoned us into this work.
You've used that term a couple times, and I think that is so right on. To summon a man into battle. When I go back to World War II when Pearl Harbor was hit in 1941, December 7th. Horrible moment. We had young boys, as young as 12, lying about their age to sign up to go fight. Because there was something in them that said, I've got to do something. I have to fight to defend that which is precious to me. They loved something about their country, their family, their future, and they knew they needed to be a warrior and get out there and do something heroic. And I think that's something that in the spiritual realm, we don't realize enough, the horrible nature of the enemy.
Yeah.
And if we did realize that this battle was this severe and that there were souls at stake, and as you mentioned, we men have an impact and a power that is unmatched by God's design.
Exactly.
By God's order.
Right.
So, for us to recognize that there is battle before us, to summon one another, to say there's a fight, we got to get involved in this fight.
Well, Doug, I think too, just you taking St. Michael as the patron of the camp there, that reminds us that we are engaged in a battle with the enemy. And just the whole idea is our fathers bringing their sons there and inviting them and summoning them to what they're really made for, you know,
Right.
what God's design is for them as young men.
Well, and I think that, you know, there's going to be a lot of people maybe right now out there watching this, and we're talking about fighting the fight and being summoned to the battle. And there are going to be some people, whether it's men or even some women, what are we fighting for? I mean, Mark, what are we fighting for as men ultimately? I mean, how do you sum that up to say, okay, this is what's on the line, this is what we are fighting for as men,
Right.
and why we need to be active in the fight?
Primary battle for men today is the pro-life fight. It's a man's fight, and like I said, the women have been doing a terrific job. But that's the primary battle today. We can't have we can't give the next generation 50 more million slaughtered babies.
No.
So this is fundamental battle. The anti-pornography fight, defending marriage, these are the primary battles I believe in our culture today. The Kingsmen are looking at these, but we got to protect the common good. That's part of the leader, protector, provider. Yes, the widow, the orphan, the stranger, but protecting the common good. And I think that's fundamental. You know, men have to look around in their culture, in their community, in their church, and see, where can I do some good? Where can I lay down my life? That noble cause, the greatest generation of Americans. My grandfather was in World War II.
Right.
We've lost that.
Right, right.
You know?
And there's something so amazing about that. You know, the scenes of D-Day, it stands out, I think, you know, above so many others, is these men running up a beach while gunfire's coming at them, cannons, you know, hurling, you know, shells at them, their buddies getting shot left and right, and they keep running into the gunfire. There's something that says, we've got to take this beach. We've got to storm it, we've got to take it, we've got to hold it, we've got to keep moving. We've got to free this country, France, and all of Europe from the oppression.
That's right.
But the oppression we're dealing with now, as you mentioned, abortion, pornography, you know, the marriage is under tremendous attack.
Right.
You know, you're right. It's enormous. It's huge out there. Okay, so what do we say to men to wake them up? I mean, if you could look at the camera now, you know you got gazillions of guys out there watching, or at least their wives, and you know that after they see this, they're going to be saying, you got to watch the repeat of this show, okay, because it's about men. And they're going to want their sons to watch it, and they're going to, you know, ladies going to be doing this all over because women are wanting men to wake up, are they not?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you say? You know what? I tell you what. Let's hold off because we're going to go to a break here.
Okay.
There, that's a good teaser for the audience, isn't it? Don't go away, because when we come back, we're actually going to be dealing with how do we ignite that something inside a man, that warrior spirit, that fighter, that defender, that leader, protector,
Provider.
That's it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't go away. You're watching Life on the Rock on EWTN, and we'll be back after this break. Hi, welcome back. Doug Barry here, along with Father Anthony, filling in for Father Mark, who's away on assignment in the Holy Land. With us, the King's Men. I mean, they are the King's Men. These are the King's Men. Of all the, these are, no, this is Mark Houck and Damien Wargo from the King's Men organization, an apostolate you started back in 2006. And this is a powerful apostolate. You know, I see these things all over the country. I mean, I've been the director of Radix for 16 and a half, going on 17 years now. And you know, in the last few years, I have seen more movement with regards to Catholic men waking up. And it's a bit more aggressive than in the past, I think. You know, some of the conferences, some of the speaking. I know you've Dr. Philip Mango is someone that you're connected with, and I've seen and read some of his work, and I've seen the reaction that his work has had on other men. And really, you know, even if we guys aren't talking to one another, it's kind of like this whole Camp Gargano that I've been working on as well. There's something I think the Holy Spirit is moving in us men, and it's bringing out the fighter, bringing out the loving, peaceful, charitable, God-driven fighter, but fighting for things that are, as you said, the common good. Right. Now, you guys have a kind of a philosophy. You break it down into 3 or 4 key points to help a man, I think, understand his role and how we should be formed. What are those?
Sure. Well, the first is leader. And this archetype of the leader is really, we find, you know, the core of this at the foot of the cross, of Christ dying on the cross, this servant leader, laying down his life, a sacrificial lover. And so we want to focus on that as men. We're not out there as not noble leaders or warriors. We're not terrorizing people. We are noble warriors. We are trying to serve, like I said, the common good. And so one of the ways that a man does that, Doug, is he does that through his weakness. A man must lead through his weakness. What is that? His humility. And we look to Paul for really kind of to bring this out further when he's prayed 3 times, Lord, take this thorn out of my side. And the Lord said, no, my grace is sufficient. For my power is made perfect in weakness. When you are weak, I am strong. And so we need men, and we need to summon men to tap into that weakness. And the problem is, most guys don't want to tap into their weakness because they know that's where they're weak. They want to compartmentalize that, put it away, and not deal with it. And so one of the things we have to do is get men talking about these things. Hey, are you struggling with pornography? Are you struggling